It's officially Stanley Cup Playoffs time. The Vegas Golden Knights are set to face off against the Minnesota Wild. This time on Sin City Beat, we're breaking down the series, talking keys to success, and making predictions. All that and so much more coming up right now.
From Las Vegas, this is Sin City Beat.
Hello there and welcome to Sin City Beat. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Mike Davis. Sin City Beat is the show that dissects the Vegas sports world through the eyes of the sports reporters and storytellers leading the charge. Joining the action today, we have Ray Brewer, managing editor of the Las Vegas Sun. Willie G. Ramirez, member of the Professional Hockey Writers Association and co-editor of VGK on thehockeynews.com. And there he is. And last but certainly not least, they call him Magnum 702, but his birth name, his given name is Chris Chapman, reporter, Fox Sports Las Vegas, and producer of the VGK Insider Show. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. So the Vegas Golden Knights just wrapped up their 8th regular season. This season, they won the Pacific Division for the 5th time, and now the Knights are set for their 7th postseason appearance in 8 years. After 82 regular season games, the Knights went 50, 22, and 10, the third best record in the NHL. The previous 2 times the Knights won at least 50 games, they reached the Stanley Cup final. Of course, a loss in 2018, their inaugural season, and then a sweet victory winning the Cup in 2023. So now the Vegas Golden Knights will look to win the Stanley Cup for the 2nd time in 3 seasons. Chris Chapman, the Knights went undefeated against the Minnesota Wild during the regular season, going 3-0. The Wild have not won a playoff series since 2015, Magnum 702. What's your outlook as we gear up for this series against the Wild?
Well, I don't really take the 3-0 season series into too much account. The Wild were without their best player, Kirill Kaprizov, for a couple of those games. So, you know, it's a little maybe distorted, but I think the Golden Knights are a much better team than the Minnesota Wild. Like, you can start in net. Vegas is superior. Aiden Hill's better than Gustafsson, and, you know, you can work your way out. Defensively, the Golden Knights are better than the Minnesota Wild, and I think top to bottom at the forward position, they're better. I think Jack Eichel is better than Kirill Kaprizov, I'll say it. But Kaprizov's a good player, and I think he's got the ability to steal a series. Not this series. Okay. So I think for Vegas, the key, just play your game. You know, don't get caught up in all the other stuff. Maybe there's some emotional aspect of it, but you can't get caught up in that. Just play your game and you'll win the series.
Ray, is health the biggest determinant here? Would that be the only reason, the only way you could foresee us not winning this opening series?
Well, I mean, I think we need to give Minnesota a little more credit. At the beginning of the year, weren't they the hottest team in the NHL?
Behind Winnipeg.
Arguably.
Yes.
And the West, of course, is wide open, and I think you can make an argument for any 6 teams. Vegas obviously right in the mix. Listen, in any sport, you want to peak at the end of the year, right? Vegas closed strong. I think they were like 9-2-2 over their final certain amount of games. And you know, Aiden Hill's done it before. He's a hot goalie,
Definitely.
And I think he could carry them on his back all the way back to the Cup. But I don't know if one injury would swing it in either direction, because I think Vegas is so much better than Minnesota. But I wouldn't count out Minnesota like everybody else. I mean, they were really good in the beginning of the year.
Playoff time, you can't count out anybody. Now, speaking of goaltending, what's interesting here is Fleury is the backup goaltender for the Wild, Willie. Is there any chance you think we could see a glimpse of Fleury playing his old team in this playoff matchup? Because that would be, for sports media members, that would certainly be an interesting storyline.
Yeah, no. The only way, let me tell you how Marc-Andre Fleury is going to end up in the game. He's going to end up in the game if the Golden Knights are up 3-0 in Minnesota and they're up big, and he gets one last glimpse like he did the other day, when the Wild had clinched it by getting a point, going to overtime no matter what happened, and they put him in. Or it goes to Game 5, and they come here, and the Golden Knights go up big, and they give him one last hurrah in front of the Vegas crowd.
Gotcha.
I am going to count Minnesota out. Ray's wrong. Because Vegas is
for Minnesota.
Excuse me, this is my second. Vegas is that much better statistically across the board. There's only actually one spot that they're not better, and that's save percentage. It doesn't counter what Magnum's saying in terms of goaltending, but the difference is that the Golden Knights don't allow a lot of shots. And it's not because they block them. They just don't even allow a lot of shots on goal. So Aiden Hill hasn't seen as many as Gustafsson. So his save percentage is a lot higher because he's had to make that many more saves. But the fact of the matter is, Minnesota is not as good a team. It's not as deep a team. And the one thing that led the Golden Knights to the Stanley Cup title a couple of years ago was depth, rolling 4 lines out. This year, this team can roll 4 lines out. Their health, they've done a good job of managing things without having to use LTIR. They're going to come into this postseason fully healthy, and they're going to be able to roll 4 lines. I got the Golden Knights winning in 4 or 5.
Health and depth are huge, and their 4th line is better than some of the 3rd and 2nd lines.
Well, that's what happened in the championship year was that they would roll their 4th line out, and it would be as good as Cassidy had confidence in putting them out there against other teams. 1 and 2
That's
lines,
crazy.
not even 3 and 4.
It's huge.
So depth is huge this year.
Okay, another big note. VGK penalized 197 times this season, becoming the first team in NHL history to receive less than 200 penalties over the course of an 82-game season. So they have a lot of good juju and a lot of good stats heading into the postseason. Now, as we said earlier, 8 seasons, 5 division wins, 2 trips to the Cup. So what's the key to the Knights and their sustained success? The panel is going to break that down after these words.
You're watching Sin City Beat.
Well, it's rare that an expansion franchise finds success early. Even more rare if that success is sustained. Ray Brewer, how has this franchise been able to stay competitive for so long, and who is most responsible for this feat?
They have been perfectly executed with their management. First of all, when the franchise launched, they had the expansion draft that was the most generous expansion draft in the history of expansion drafts.
And why was it the most generous? Explain that to us.
The NHL basically allowed them to the player pool they had to choose from was so enlarged. Instead of you making available X players, you had to make available Y players, and they were able to get serviceable players, and they were able to trade teams were giving them picks to not take certain players.
Right. And that's the knock that's the only knock that this team has gotten, is that the fact that it was a generous expansion draft.
Correct. But to their credit, along the way, every year at free agency, they're picking up a Mark Stone or a Jack Eichel, somebody who's become the face of the team. And then they go and they I go back to Aiden Hill. He wasn't expected to be the guy, and their scouting did such a good job. They found something in him. So I think it's a combination of the draft, them at free agency, and what they're doing behind the scenes, developing and scouting.
So you're not comfortable
players.
just saying Kelly McCrimmon. You're going to say.
Well, I mean, I just think organizationally, Bill Foley right away, he even paid the rest of the money to the league so they could start getting involved in league transactions before they launched. So everything Foley did to get the team here, get it set up, such a professional organization. Free agents want to come here because we have no state tax.
Top to bottom, just great stuff. What about you, Willie? Sustained success, you cover a lot of sports. We've seen it even with the Aces, and how they've sustained success. But for an expansion franchise to do this in one of the 4 major leagues, it's pretty impressive.
It is. I mean, and Ray's right. I mean, Bill Foley brought in George McPhee, but George McPhee brought in Kelly McCrimmon. I will say it's McCrimmon, but it's because of what Foley and McPhee have allowed him to do. Because realistically, a lot of the puppet strings that when McPhee was the GM, it was still McCrimmon. Everything that he's done from all the way down from coaching and scouting and his own junior club up in Canada, the guy knows his business. He knows how to scout. The biggest thing is, as much as this town doesn't want to hear it, and Golden Knights emphatically don't want to hear this, is he's not afraid to cut ties when business is business. Marc-Andre Fleury, gone. Marchessault, gone. Last year, how many free agents are gone? We're down to, 4 original misfits on this team.
Right.
He's not been afraid to let players go because business is business, and that's the way it goes. He was, instrumental in bringing in, I thought it was brilliant in bringing in Noah Hannafin and Tomas Hertl. It's paying off this year. And then you bring back Riley Smith. You saw what that did. And to Ray's point in terms of the goaltending, if you think about it, the Stanley Cup year, the hot goaltender was Laurent Brossoit. He started off the playoffs incredible. He was playing a little inspired because of his father. Then all of a sudden it was Aiden Hill. Logan Thompson was on the shelf, and the reality is Logan Thompson was the only All-Star on that team that year, and he was upstairs in the press box, and he was healthy. They were saying that he wasn't, but in reality he was healthy scratched. He was ready to go. You don't disrupt something that's happening, and Aiden Hill took over that net.
Magnum 702 with the green glasses. The Green Lantern glasses. Tell us, what do you think? What is the key? We got about 45 seconds left here.
Well, both of these guys are exactly right. It's the organization from top to bottom. But I'm going to go a different direction here. You got to give credit to the players. They're the ones who go out and execute. And it's the Mark Stones, it's the Jack Eichels who probably should be in the conversation for the Hart. He won't be, but he should be. William Karlsson, another player. The coaches, you got to give credit to them. All three head coaches they've had have all been really good. Whether it's Gerard Gallant year one, Pete DeBoer who took over, and now Bruce Cassidy, who I think is the best of the best. And it's the organization, but that includes the guys who go out there every night and execute
100%.
As well.
And we've seen this in so many different leagues. Look, the Denver Nuggets, they win that NBA championship. They have to pay all their superstar players. What does that mean? You start losing out on those key bench players, the depth, the guys that are the glue guys, and they don't have the same juice that they had when they won. So in order to sustain success in the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, it's hard stuff to do. Okay, guys. Now, he recently returned to a standing ovation at T-Mobile Arena. We know the fans miss Marchessault, but how much does the team miss Marshy, especially come playoff time? More on that after these words. All right, T-Mobile Arena had to play a bunch of video tributes this season as former VGK players returned to the Fortress, but perhaps the most moving tribute was the one to honor original Misfit Jonathan Marchessault. Now with the Nashville Predators, the right winger returned to his home, the place where he holds the franchise record for almost every category, and most of all the place where he won the Stanley Cup and the Conn Smythe. Now, the fans greeted Marshy with a warm standing ovation. Willie, tell us just how much will the Knights miss Marchessault as they enter the playoffs for the very first time without him?
Well, I don't know how much it's a matter of, I think it's more the chemistry and having that little spark plug, the little general, if you will.
Yeah.
But we talked about depth earlier in the show, and there's a lot of experience in this room. Noah Hannafin, I talked about before, Tomas Hertl, he's going after his first Stanley Cup after playing. He's been in a Stanley Cup final with the Sharks, and he's been to plenty of playoffs. So there's a lot of depth on this team that can make up for one guy. I think it's his energy and his presence and his leadership that adds to it. Are they going to miss it? I think it's more like, hey, I wish he could be here with us, but missing it in terms of where it's dropped them down. It's not the same kind of miss.
So you're saying it's more so about the intangibles that they're going to miss rather than the production. And let me pose this to you guys, because our great Vince Sapienza here at Fox 5 Las Vegas was even talking with me back in our office and saying, it's interesting, Marchessault, him leaving, that void actually allowed a lot of players, or forced a lot of players, to level up. Guys like Kolasar, Waugh, Howden, these are guys that potentially had to level up their game because of that absence. Do you agree with Vince Sapienza there?
Not really.
The great Vince.
I think when you look at the history of this team, it's been filled with guys who have stepped up and filled the void of others.
That's just part of the fabric.
I think that's just the way this franchise is built. They always have guys. A guy like Michael Amadio, who also got a tribute video this year, but he stepped up and filled the role of a guy like Cody Eakin when he left. You go back to year one and nobody really knew who William Karlsson was, and all of a sudden he's a 40-goal scorer. But then this team goes out and gets Paul Stastny, they get Max Pacioretty, and all of a sudden those guys are producing.
Right.
Well, when they left, someone else had to step up. And you look at, and Brett Howden certainly fantastic.
So
year.
you're saying it's less about, because earlier you were saying let's give the players some credit.
Well, yeah,
that's what
but
Magnum 702 said earlier.
Yes, but
you're saying
I'm also
it's the
saying
system.
That it's the culture of the organization.
Because it's not only those guys. Pavel Dorofeyev, Brett Howden, the guys he's bringing up. How can you attribute and go, oh no, he replaced Marchessault. Oh no, he did it for Marchessault. Not everybody did it for Marchessault.
Yeah.
Is what he's saying.
Okay, Ray, step in here.
I would say two things. We should have had this talk at the beginning of the year, but I get it, he just came back.
Yeah.
Secondly, are y'all crazy? This guy was legit one of our best players, if not one of their best players, during the 23 run.
This is the first time we're
One of
entering a
our
playoff
best players.
series
I didn't know
without
you were
him.
on the team.
I like how Willie's
Here's what you don't understand.
He was a true spark.
Here's the important thing about the playoffs. This is our team. Bro, everybody in town is rooting for these guys to win. We're all united cheering for the Golden Knights. I'm okay saying they're our team. I'm from Vegas. I don't mind.
I cheer for
My
the Rebels.
team,
I cheer for
Oh, the
UNLV.
Rebels are our
I'm an
team,
alum.
bro.
You know?
That's a little different level.
Wait,
But
what are you
Marchessault
saying?
was really good during the playoff run.
No, I know.
He's one of the great
he's
players
Mr.
in the
Playoff.
leagues. And I just don't think you're going to replace him with some third liner
I
who
think-
might step up and fill
So
in
you
the
think we're
going
going to miss him big time?
I think
Absolutely, he's great.
I think the thing though is where they will miss him is if they're down in a series, say 3-1, and they need that guy to go out in front of the media and basically put himself out there and say, we're going to come back and win this series. Marchessault was that guy.
The juice that he gives the Fortress, Willie, tell us that moment. We got a minute left.
Yeah,
just that tribute video, the warm standing ovation.
Yeah. He brings energy. That's what I said when you asked me. Are they going to miss his energy and his presence? Yeah, being a part of everything. The production is one thing. It's there. They have depth. But the energy that this guy brings, the people love. I will go on record as saying this. He brought this town a Stanley Cup. Marc-Andre Fleury lost to the Sharks 3 straight games and gave the puck away against the Canadiens. Jonathan Marchessault is the most popular former Golden Knight. End of story.
First player to have his jersey retired.
There you
Willie?
go, 100%.
Willie, Ray, do you agree
Bro,
with that?
if it wasn't for Marc-Andre Fleury, half of the city wouldn't love the team like
I'm
they
just
do.
going to sit back.
He
and
would've-
watch.
he
he
would've-
embraced
This is
the
why I
team.
love Sin City
He
Beat
was-
right here.
he was the
Jonathan
first
Marchessault
pick.
won the Conn Smythe.
Who cares? We wouldn't be there if Marc-Andre Fleury didn't embrace
He
us.
just went for, are you guys kidding me?
Marc-Andre Fleury is one of the great sports people in the history of this city.
Nobody, okay, you're
Is that-
twisting
that-
words.
is-
Nobody
wait,
said
all
he's
right.
not.
That's
You
the Pittsburgh
just said
Ray
that he was
talking
the
there.
greatest.
I didn't say that you're twisting it by saying he's one of the greatest. Did I say he's not? I didn't say he wasn't.
What did you say? Pull back
I
the
said
tape.
that Marc-Andre Fleury lost to the Sharks in 3 straight in 19. He gave the puck away to the Canadiens in the bubble
You
season.
just said that
Jonathan
the system had-
Marchessault brought them.
You
Hey,
just said
honestly,
the system
Mom.
had Chapman
And just-
over here
and just
scored a
watch
goal
this,
in
baby.
Game 5.
All right, we're going to continue this during the commercial. Guys, next up, it's prediction time. The pressure is on the panel. I think the pressure is already on this panel. We got more after a short break. I'm enjoying this. Continue, guys.
Yeah, we're like the referees, Mike.
All right, welcome back to Sin City Beat. Mike Davis here along with this glorious panel. It's prediction time, fellas. So Chris, Magnum 702, let's start with you. What's your playoff prediction for this team? How far is VGK going to go?
Well, the sky's the limit. They could go all the way. Certainly, I think health will play a role in it, but I'm going to say that they make the Stanley Cup final. I think they're the best team in the West. I think when I look at the Central,
Ray already rolled his eyes. So we're
I
going to
think
go
when
to
I
you
look at the
next.
Central, Dallas, Colorado, and Winnipeg are going to beat each other up. Vegas has a much easier first-round matchup than the Winnipeg Jets do. I think Edmonton and LA is a series where they're going to beat the hell out of each other for 6 or 7 games. So I think Vegas, just based on the matchup of the Wild in the first round,
You like it.
I like
health
their road.
purposes.
I like their road to the final, based on the fact that I think it's easier than other teams that they're going to be
so you
fighting
like the
against.
path to the cup. Ray, you rolled your eyes immediate. I mean, you're spicy today, Ray.
No,
I know you're talking about El Polio logo and all that stuff.
Our team.
All that, what's going on? Roberto's, Don Tortaca. You got everything going on.
Wow,
you got
lot of pub. Are these sponsors you're talking
No,
about?
but Ed Bernstein, the greater Ed Bernstein, Injury Lawyers, he provides these great mugs and this sponsorship. You got the red and the verde sauce today, Ray.
Correct.
Tell us. us. What's going on?
Who's the best goalie in the National Hockey League?
Connor Hellebuck,
Who does he play for?
the Winnipeg Jets.
Who would have home ice advantage if Vegas and Winnipeg
They're
played?
not going to get to
Who
the
would
Western
have
Conference.
home ice advantage? You're telling me a Canadian team, one round from the Stanley Cup, it's going to be a madhouse in Winnipeg.
Ray,
They got
Ray.
the best goalie. Vegas makes it to the finals of the West. They lose to the best goalie, and the Canadian team.
Hold on.
I got
hold
you.
on.
No, I got you. It's my turn. I got you.
Go. You do your thing.
Let me do a Ray. Who did the Golden Knights play in the Western Conference Final the year that they made it to the Stanley
Well, I
Cup?
was
Marc-Andre
there. I
Fleury.
was there.
Who
and
had
it was the
home,
Winnipeg
who-
Jets.
Oh, did they do whiteouts in?
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
has one of the worst reputations as being a Vezina candidate but a terrible playoff goalie?
Connor Hellebuck.
Oh wow! Isn't that
But
something?
great
Oh wait,
pierogies
one
in
other question.
Winnipeg.
Who won the President's
This
Cup
is the
this
best
year?
Vegas sports
Winnipeg
show.
Jets.
100%
Who was the last team to
on
win a
television.
Stanley
This is
Cup
best
with the
show.
President's Cup?
I don't even know. 'cause it was so
2012,
long
the
ago.
Chicago Blackhawks. Chris nailed it. The road there. Dallas and Colorado are going to beat the heck out of each other. I do disagree with you. I think the Kings are going to smoke the Edmonton Oilers. And Winnipeg's got its handful with Jordan Binnington and the St. Louis Blues in the first round. That
game
could
Jordan.
go further than the Kings and Oilers, to be quite honest with you, because Binnington was a rookie. The Blues were the worst team in the league in 2019, and they made a run and won the Stanley Cup final. So I think that there's going to be a lot of teams beating each other up. And if the Golden Knights are truly healthy, and Petrangelo's healthy, and Eichel's healthy, and Hurdle's healthy, and everybody's back, they're going to the Stanley
Okay,
Cup
so
final.
we got a minute. Prediction. What's the prediction for the playoffs? VGK.
They're going to the final. I'm not predicting the final.
Okay.
Lose to Winnipeg, and I predict they'll come back and blame injuries on why they lost.
Okay.
To go to the Western or to the Stanley Cup final, no prediction. I don't know who's going to come out of the East.
All right. That's what happens when VGK wins 50 games. They go to the Stanley Cup final, and that's what the panel thinks is going to happen. Guys, this was the best. This is the best Vegas sports show on television. 100%. Willie G. Ramirez, Ray Brewer, the great Magnum 702, Chris Chapman. I am Mike Davis. We will see you next time here on Sin City Beat. Go Knights, go. We'll see you next time.